Okay, so that we might have very interesting right now is that the villain might be maybe hiding beneath an isolated flower in one of its back pocket. In this back in this back flower, everything might be used on it, might be like activated with the voice of the claim. So like to deactivate an activated flower, ability like the depending on what might be having to be done might be to go like the intelligence to actually we have to like see that like I got the story for like season like the difficult and basically deactivate the difficult or not deactivate might be what might be having to be done not to like deactivate like the difficult that might be like that what we might do and then like up to the villain and the Lord might be accessible to like the deactivation of it like a main uh, by by as I wrote like I thought that the might be like that the like how like the communication might be certainly might appear but especially like the scenario right now especially so like I mean like really is like found the I'm focusing right now so most likely get to more on the land that can be ignored still ignoring that talk about like the ability or like maybe something like that like to talk about the ability by the that might be blocked again. We can still attempting to that almost like attempting to that still take down sector with and definitely at that point only putting like attempts that something that again like the way that taking that from the like the giving to another that way that about an example of like the villain how like I'm looking that the second by like or like the business like impact of like the was like doesn't really that other kind of stuff. So definitely I'm looking them all that the remaining like that all of them that given up like that but then it starts to the end of them at that point of them looking like the villain when they located in the all three was like for sure that the remaining people were under in the all three at that point of that now that together and again, before and that point, like the remaining is that about one one for like or that then to until the same then we can go then to that probably by your point is that the problem of the like the game on that one to the so just thank you for now. And so like at that point I'm going to bring the like the much happening to the down and that the one to the they were like in terms of something so that and like that thing is like finding out that don't you all about like the trap of like the villain. And at that point, then getting assumed to embrace initially at like what was like this now that and during that kind of when I'm for like them for totally finding out about like that increase in like the growth in like the quantum power like and sharp growth of like the power so on to like so now it's so like at that point like I was like then going from embrace to that then creating entity and from like one to bring down like the village and to for them to create like a back there like the scenario and we have to bring at that point that take even going on to bring at that point the more getting to it from a game perspective like the villain along the lines of like the villain is like only playing the game to get on the lines and but like at that point and to be telling and putting back to it that so that when you look at that one, that you're like in the train, that sort of is in the hand, and that one is like now that but like at that point, I'm like that six again, but then you're like on to know that that like they should tell them and they please while singing and something for like looking at like once you are tell them that like it will be like the perfect brain will be along the lines of like telling them to do like the scenario that way like how the different for like for the effect when it is like if we get to like the main of that villain and basically that internal fight between that gone to the versus that the villain is like happening in certain respect which now and development of the and certainly at that point of delivering that the scenario to be like that showing that the result of Lebanon with the brain at that time being very progressive like the scenario. That point being like the focus that is scenario right like going to that time because of great strategy that taking off all organization that students that and like get it back that all the net that and giving it back to like the movies and that performance will like showing the scenario that and the eventually like the the blackberry guys the previous of scenario that I'm right. So that in the urban mining and all different formats and gone into the that without the brain itself that it is the one that so the instead that instead of getting indicated like kind of evidence that one will be using coin writing it's not only different components like the plant name of that one I can work that basically that that remotely activating that and basically taking out like all the things that written out that methodology. So like at that point I'm totally putting for like for until feeling that we are in that situation where like at that point I'm totally things where like they would be knowing what at that point is that scenario. So like at that point like I'm totally putting with you and like this okay so be stepping in and basically that with such a this is like this okay that okay deactivating like that and totally figure it instantly that quickly free that all the documents from like the part of like the letters like this now that it was like it was like according to my different terms from the correct that final showdown scenario to be like likely for like the villains after getting defeated by Conan Gilwal that was posting about that about that that ability to like remotely activate and basically that is like letting Conan Gilwal say like we are glad to like to the game with friends like might be already familiar with that ability and might be having that knowledge about that ability. I think that it is like the most there. That way like it's okay with the would like the and so with that deactivating and basically that thing like that taking out or like probably like repeating and like the women and also for that so by just getting that thing like that so that the women cognition now yeah, so that luckily the currency right now that one so maybe that in this space might be like getting that support of from present of that sort of federal reserve. Spain might be like that the technical care which is that the aggregate figure might be like enough to like sort of like a reinforcement in as well as like transformation like and maybe what might come first it might be transformation and then a reinforcement and then finally it might be innocent that might be last and so like bonus button like by trying to like image then that might be like doing it in like the form of maybe and hence might be the result of like months that they left in like anything like then the person might be like 10% relations that about that about it so that the reason I just very interesting right now is for like going to that academic journey towards learning and the different most likely right now taking the details of like personality that is right like they do like to go like HunterExam situation like on the 20% like you know to like be like the real learning game so I can go for like and to it's like the exam or in that one and to the the like they taking the to take that video and basically to specifically on that specific single card that allows the player to like be running against like this now and the player can like that card to be like to think that would be running against balls like scenario with it. And so that way like you can like by the time eventually and then sort of like by that way by the time like one I can go to eventually making it towards like speeding that specific card like that quantity so it's just a lot of less struggle situation alone that we could get within that period and given by the net Silva from that thing around that one thing so extremely invested within that again was that like period and again that like I'm looking at that one that Silva by the time that Silva will be getting that the credit card to be able to like see of the period and again that Silva only taking the decision to that really and that they are also by then that that the time to that just for like another chance might be like it might be a time where like might be almost over that time it will almost like another experience. Yeah, like a one of like being so they reflected were by then about the mentality extremely invested and extremely excited and about like the great identity was about like that going to the possibility I think was like to the telling them that basically that after that that you know I couldn't want to like stick with focusing that I'm making towards that being a complete text about data and or data along the line figure that when you getting that is that even if that it takes one more year after doing that for that what if you able to do that and into that even if that influence the thing that can do it that will have technology find that it will be along the line that Silva at that point would be that like the board of the running like going on the stage would be around the Silva would be leading at that time and would be telling them. And that way like I'm from Silva taking that decision and it will be Silva that way not leaving like the world of career running. Silva and go like churn within like the career running things of continuing like the scenario there. And that way like by the time Silva would be completing whatever the point that we like creating a completing career running. And that by the time that they will be meeting king and like meeting like the god of the game of that period and that they will be only at that point in the that when you return back to like the real world. And at that point after the parang like by the time that Silva will be around with like probably at that point that Silva eventually like by the time it will be time for like Silva to like enter into like to like rest up for like another time like and so at that point like I'm totally gone essentially Silva's lectures now that are available so that by the time they will be making towards like public attending for like network of like of my like straight away moving like the underside to like Silva like now with that and at that point I'm going to attend for like network telling Silva that there will be the challenges that Silva and one had faced in like the world of real and like we did think far superiorly great checks of like great intensity of like difficulty when compared to like the difficulty of that the uh, world of like the difficulty of like the hundred percent would be along the lines of the different like and at that point telling Silva that like Silva is left only due to that like Silva is left only one thing should be along the lines of the different like network should be telling Silva uh, at that point is like the shop Silva that kind of like scenario that that way like unlike actually Silva getting that metro like sound of it opposite on the same like in one that way Silva getting the other side without completing without having like the name to like complete like the first under section. It's like the whole scenario that under the road the mentioned right. So you saw that actually I think very one person right now can be for like at like the necessity of the door itself or like going to the get to that running to like the new business like this now is the financial game that by the time that team of that government is will be that defeating that the villain and that giving back that all the designated cards to like the new design all the elements that and like the team of that one and the security about the step out to that leave Macedonia like I'm you are already by themselves black showing up and will be that by themselves black you are what completed that the conversation like the scenario that I'm going to find my daughter and due to that so due to that the training Silva has had so far and after the lecture training like for current training to get like in that the under the being such an absolute piece of cake for that to get doing that phase through like the for like in one to like phase through and something sitting such finishing it on time like the scenario that is doing and so for maybe that way and that way also for maybe maybe even setting my thoughts that of like the concepts that individual doing that complete like the 100% on that specific sense of the 100% of things that in your the into that the different of that that's the which is scenario that is the perfect and the prevention that way like the and I want to go getting reunited before like just as like born and put together give up the not that the scenario that is in the brain and yes, so that but the my Indian person right now is that right from like the very beginning of the career and like this again my just straight away even join lab the along with like the new that would be that when even joining lab the villain might have been actually something that is okay might have found the clear down to that turning down like the villain especially might be like backward and that situation back then might be the case that you know well might have been to that bond is okay finding bond way more interesting that is when like taking down like the villains might be might have been like it's already for like the okay uh uh back then like seeing that the other newly along with like on to the deal that the newly doing for like the villain might have been like that will get like super impact and stuff like that. So that is okay. My at person might get okay putting on that as well. I want to my friends might be putting on that as well. Fake it in front of like the guy Abengane while it's okay. Counting to that saving frame of that Abengane right now itself is definitely like the figure using to get like extensive knowledge and powers might be straight away right now itself might be able to like easily move, might be like active, yeah, like the figure might be able to putting on that actually like I think when it comes to that as well in front of us and might be like that the clear brain. So that within the investment right now is for lab. I think that is going to be getting taken out by like the women's investment and would be at that final moments of time. Then that I'm thinking like again everything and finding out that the meaning behind like the economic side of that the way that perspective the scenarios that are developed. So when the thing connected that was the that countdown that the countdown of like the villain and different that the kid uses so much of net like it's net intensity which is so high that like compared to continue after like the for period of that Abengane like he thinks like the countdown timer like and but still like the timer might have no doesn't resolve at all. Might be like that pretty effective might be what like Abengane might be straight away also might be assuming that like that countdown that's probably got on the phone. I'm pretty concerned by like the for example maybe around the line back again and person might be swimming so that the timer might be still going on so then like the so it creates might be like that with the thing of training so like that we have to go like with the they can bring that so like in the everything like something enemy like the well, of course hiding itself and like expensive stuff like the with that then can exchange it close rates so like the scenario that I'm looking at rates but like the first like freezer like around like at the end of the scenario that I'm looking at the at that point I'm so different or like the villain was that they would be like selling to like 3 months of that is so that the countdown is like about to be over. And like I'm referring like the winner that making that countdown from that 10, 9, and basically even to be 3, 2, 1, like and only again at that point when if you're in this countdown it is only like basically waiting for that actual opportunity. But like I'm totally going on like the villain will be counting down to like 1 and 0 like at that point itself I'm different like Abengane getting taken out of that doesn't answer why from the different and at that point I'm looking like Abengane realizing that about like the about like what like the development like the kind of the signal like at that point only at that point like the scenario that I'm going to and only I'm looking that at that point although the different like kind of the like it's not that like the game like at that point will be surviving that scenario that so like tapi after like then right like at the end and like the first thing gone and the looking at it like made a thing that they made us straight away at all to like the cave and my doubt probably and then like the whole and for example from like the downtown made a wing what like the city made a straight away made a wing on and they have the friend like then and then for the correct possibly only after that that like okay and gone to be showing up in terms of like in the scenario that I'm pretty much breaking of those and by then like I'm putting that I think I would have gotten again I don't would have got a plate of where then that thing is scenario that I'm looking so really like again is like exams and also like in scenario that I'm looking so like the other route that I'm looking out the button is for that while narrative be like maybe while again I would be not hiding close to that where within looking at that point that can reflect the countdown to be not in such a situation about like ending 1 minute I don't will be like that and then when I'm inviting that Lord and this okay going up to like the cave basically they are like definitely that so this again like basically like instilling and bringing out like the courage within like the almost nothing had given up and basically that through like the light of the platform and so again basically that's the thing in like the personals deciding to like it off and basically like that or so deciding to like save like the villain altogether. Like you know that way that don't just like game for me like the entire game like anything like that gives to the exact location or like the way movie. So like at that point like at that point about the perform like the villain to hear of the country is because like that might be like the really loud scenario. That like the villain might have something to the so like then that gets like the person could show that courage and to that door and like decided to like it all and like face like the villain might be like the last thing that might have so like such scenario happening and basically at that point like I was friend like the villain will be like graphics like still trying to like trying to like So that then would be now that big love like calling like the not like boredom of like and there will be like at that point like a bit of like in can making that countdown from like 10 to like 1 and 0 like the scenario that I'm going to. So like at that point, I'm going to find that like the winner will be like like the winner six up will be making that countdown from like 10 to like 0 like and at that point like the entire thing of like the entire of like the was like straight away at that point with just it all straight away starting with that absolute level of like and with that absolute problem like then of starting with that absolute at like the villain with that absolute is like personality that I'm really like so like I'm just bring like at that point like the sign of the countdown being zero. So like at that point I'm talking something for like everyone there being confused, but that only a single person getting taken off. And that once like the countdown video and that will be just like it like Abengane to might have been hiding by the push of that it's like the scenario that so like that way that all of like even like the villain has to like then down it's the remain as like being confused down to like why like nothing happens to that. So like at that point I'm looking at most likely when like it's again thinking that that's good. Look like smile making that up. It's really so like it's okay my doubt that when down second while that when down without sharp to that towards like the villain and that will last second like this okay my doubt feel that parents get my doubt only that exactly might have been what like this guy might have gone excellent season like and that will last second like this okay might have push get that selecting the range of like those uh, exact total that personas and basically last productivity canceling. Just to get like 20,000 or like to get productivity so they canceling out like the come up and that way last second like the scenario that way like that way like a began alone to my dad. At that point I got confident like my sister hiding that basically not falling on that range of them to get like canceling like Amazon scenario and that way I began alone getting taken out and like everyone being convinced that one bank account out will be the it's like a change scenario that I'm attending or income of the case. And at that point I'm recording that for like this okay not time to do anything more than all but like at that point it's like the countdown being there often they release them and that being right there like I'm between that and like arrive and then like so like at that point I was very like with the straight away like keeping on that charge against like the villain and the entire fear material that is the made up taking off like the villain for like protect like the villain into like a dark kind of stage like the scenarios that I'm looking at well it's okay as well quite strong would go there like show and language academy is made like the scenario that I'm in other professional that I'm looking at so like my particular information right now is that maybe that maybe for like the children and the like thing on the like for them to like each of them maybe able to like play the countdown. My thing on the like the main villain but like the two front of like the main villain. That's when each of them may be able to like play that countdown maybe like accessible to base the implementation. Yeah, like on the top page, like the countdown so that's straight away and that the countdown that so the point that might actually require like the require like the combined 10 powers of that the three of like the villain and like 2.5 like that when they like the uh like the day terminal training so that the it's a very by the police might not be able to like straight away review like the countdown I think the activity like the limitation they might have the terminal training so the police might be understand right now that the that stock. So like so different that the villain might have showed up straight away right now. Like so like the release like the villain might have straight away showed up to like the shop like the dollar to like buy all of like the all of like the card that the list that will be showing up in that shop. Uh, and so that that way it might be that mysterious that the person stop going at the city might have been a product deal from Microsoft, might have been that we one of the villains, might do like the name and training. So that roughly by the very interesting point now, so like doing another that I'm experiment for like by physical would be giving that training to that on in like the cost and maybe something different like physical deciding to like say arrest and basically while going with the like training a bit this was like to give like the scenario that all along the like the scenario that was project. So like that point is when I was most likely some two team like the two team members of like the main villain like I'm the like one of them like at that point or like the two of them like at that point would be like running towards like so while putting on that answer picket pretending while then would be pretending to be like the more than ever and it's like a skip with like different answers that I'm doing different so hopefully that is for different for them to like more likely like to like go on about like basically them having some sort of that and them like the last moment like managing through the unique then also like enable to like managing to like free themselves and the way to left again from like the down with the along the lines like then both to be the electricity for us to manage to like their will give things like bonus like the scenario kind of thing. So bonus that one would be all alone and basically like that way that would be freaking gone and basically from the like place would be like touching and basically placing that down on one of like scenarios that I'm going to protect that are in general like the scenario that I'm going to protect. And definitely at that point, controlling protect for like them to like straight away change their management straight away begin the blackmailing of like John with like personality setup and they will be straight away telling John to like give up all of that the designated card of that form or else that they will be and after to bring it will be at that point that after to bring like the main villain as well will be showing up it's like personality setup so like so that the bring that them at that point like they like want to like straight away give up all of them on the net card or that they left please like the down on like they would yeah that might be like going on like the normal the things like this and how to set up about so like at that point I'm like this is really walking up to towards like the on the beat like the like this and how to set up the and like going at that point maybe tuning that as with yeah and the different going at that point would be looking towards like this okay so like at that point I'm talking about for like the three villains like the main villain failing so they are well to like basically along with like gone all of like don't like the main track for like Suzuki as well to like some all of that Suzuki as well in a track as well uh to like the villain or it's like basically they will like take off from this they are underlying like the villain which will be telling to get like scenario that are in the world. So like at that point I was like the today most like the thing that up to break acting up like basically that she has to like some prioritizing designated gun more than one like person out that of the brain and that being such an active and don't think it was so that and that being such an active choice for like non that person out that when actually I'm when in the relation for the friend in for the most of the scenario was like to get wanting to like such Johnson like such an extremely pressurized situation and like how John will approach such right situation especially in a brilliant actually I'm only specific to my brains well I mean they might have the power to like uh, unique net and do that powers to like be able to like vigilance to be able to like undo like the down on go like the like actually to basically yeah like this get on that I think they get from like one like it's now that I was going so that at that point, like don't feeling that I'm good fear and like want definitely not giving it to like the fear and basically want refuse it to like give up like the resilient like the scenario that I'm with so like that way like everything like the will like the fear of the black at that point so but they were to know that one I mean and like at that point I was for that intense critical situation I'm so different again only deciding to that with step in but like and that will last again I was for like to get something on inborn themselves like making that movement I'm totally born at that point like right like the very last second as like for 3 minutes to be about the ball of the league like I'm like gone so the that intense critical situation like succeeding like is lead in achieving this like emission attack uh that he was the training of like scenario that was so to like I'm don't sending out like initial attack and basically that attack straight away taking out like the main villain like scenario that is the big over yeah. So like at that point I'm so different like this okay totally being asked to meet please with that job and really maybe telling God congrats and basically this okay slowly one of that should be at that point shocked that he was able to like use that initial attack like scenario succeeded like mastering that in that was like the scenario like I was saying so like at that point like this okay like telling with like a smile congratulating John and like just really walking up to like John and basically it's okay without saying a word like it's okay. So that basically like basically destroying like the countdown like scenario. So removing like the countdown is like removing and destroying like the countdown like the scenario that I'm like going at that point it becomes its own. And at that point, when I'm thinking on realizing that language skill, like okay, that's being strong. It's like scenario that is about it. Correct. So like at that point, I'm putting that that's like the main villain. I don't remember and that when get taken on like the two main villain like at that point, like either surrounding off in that atmosphere or like number of thing where like so maybe taking up the main villain like scenario that I'm the correction of the energy and that's the effect of like the negative over power of like the so this brings up colliding with like the countdown like I'm whispering that the countdown quite still being present about the might be present within that the brings up like I'm whispering might be in like a delayed sound of state might be with it. So like the moment like the moment like Abengane would be about to like send like that from brings up to attack that the main villain like at that very last second I was saying that that the bomb brings up along with like Abengane getting taken out like the scenario that I'm looking for things. There's like a book like the scenario that I'm looking for the right on the brain right. So yes, like being also on the team right now, like maybe affect the work of that and like they are seeing a signal exceptionally strong and powerful that villanistic figure in that the example in this category or front building is the scenario that I'm saying. And that way while Silva could be fast one than that the remaining participants like for that still as still understood like Silva because front even to the only being on the path to that was like serious like villanistic figure participant like the scenario that I'm disable. So the blame is relaxing that individual straight away seeing that with uh, competitor and they feel that they like like the competition totally happening between that realistic and like realistic and like all throughout like the uh, all throughout like the understand like scenario that everything and again like eventually Silva like that realistic like actually most likely completing like 700% at like the same time at like the same point is that doing the at like a type of like the scenario that I'm and then that way like I'm looking at after like getting like under placing like it was straight away returning back to the Green Island world and definitely after like 100% even though Kilua everything that we had like pathways with that realistic either like that realistic maybe that I'm whispering that game the phrase that was the user that sees like strong trying to do I think with that within with that obsession that comes with ranking could be following Kilua all the way to like the Green Island game one like the Yorga back to the Green Island game like also like an was the Canary that and the thing. So that game was like that in terms of managing to that be able to like into that particular game either getting a copy of the particular game somehow or like that maybe that can be the main university and that in somehow that can that individual managing to like get both of that particular game and basically that individual can bring that particular board is like the scenario that is going and like in that basically after entering like basically in on like the search and change the like in what is like individual scenario that is also